I'll officially say on the record, it's an honor to be talking with you again, Paul. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining.
likewise, likewise.
Yeah, glad to have had a chat with you. And I know on this episode we're talking about sort of the expansion your career has taken in the past couple of years. I think it was about 2 years ago that we chatted. Time really does fly. And
Yeah,
you've recently had a show at correct me if I'm mispronouncing this, Philippe Labaune Gallery. Is that right?
that's correct. Yeah, Philippe Labaune.
Yeah. So what's that been like to be part of this exhibit of your work?
It's interesting. It's definitely it feels like unlocking like 3D chess, I guess you could put it, or 4D chess if you want to use Star Trek terms. I've never worked with a gallery before, so it's interesting to see how many different pieces have to fall into place correctly to make the show happen. Or in our case, a number of events for the show. And I have an art rep, Felix Liu, and we have been uh, working together. Felix and I have been working together, I think, for 8 years. And it felt like a logical extension to find like a location where we can show art. And so, yeah, and it's been great because like a lot of people walking up the street and see the stuff. And of course, I'm still working on new comics. So it's just kind of like created a new job description. So,
Uh, yeah. Very cool. And I was going to ask about that relationship of comics and fine art because, of course, there's Liechtenstein, there's Andy Warhol's pop art and things like that. But just curious about your take on that.
well, I mean, I'm not very cynical about the kind of art we do. I mean, comics has for a long time been considered degenerate and garbage, basically. And I've never felt like that. I feel like it's an expressive literary medium. And
Agreed.
yeah, and a depictive medium. And, you know, it matters if we can draw something well in our field. And I always had this joke, having gone through the art school grist mill, that the longer your manifesto, the shorter your drawing skills, you know? And so
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, look, like there are some drawings in the show that are literally just like there's a drawing of a pretty girl, a drawing of a wolf, a drawing of cornfields in Nebraska. There's no secret message to it. That's what it is. And if you want to get into deeper psychological issues, that's a different show, right? So it's like I think the subtext is there in the show, but the art we're looking at is illustration. So it's pen and ink is pretty unforgiving. So if you're drawing with a brush, there's not a lot of room to hide things. And the masters I learned from were like, keep it as simple as you can. Don't cheat, you know. And so like all the drawings in the show, I think are hand selected, pretty blunt, direct images in the comics medium for illustration.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, just thinking about that unforgiving, it's on the page, it's the mark is there. And I'm with you in
Best thing
that
about it.
false dichotomy too. I think comics is art.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who is in charge of deciding what is art, what isn't art. I mean, I think art can be personal appreciation. For example, I love that song "Raindrops Falling on My Head," written by
Hmm.
Burt Bacharach for the old Paul Newman movie, Books and Sundance. You've seen that one. Butch Cassidy Sundance. I wouldn't say it's a good song, but it emotionally connected to me at a young age. In the same way, Jack Kirby's drawing of Thor when he's lifting up, I can lift it as if it were cardboard. It's something like that. It's like it hit me at an early age and it stayed with me. And so, like later in life, I might discover somebody else. I don't know, you mentioned whoever. I just bought a book of Lionel Fenninger's drawings, Bauhaus slash Brutalist artist, American, German in the 1920s, also did comics. And it's like I can appreciate it on a different level. So I don't need to just keep going back to these early things. I might listen to that Burt Bacharach track once every 5 years, but it takes me back to that moment, you know.
Hmm.
But as an artist, you keep planting, keep growing, and like you get better and better, and like you try, and you discover new unseen fields. And I think that's what makes art so interesting. Uh, it's not a repetitive job. I mean, yeah, mark making is repetitive, but the thing you're drawing is not repetitive.
Yeah, yeah. You've also recently had a retrospective published, PulpHope,
Mm-hmm.
too, and so I'm curious about what that's been like, both in looking back, but you also mentioned kind of those next steps and challenging yourself in what's ahead.
Yeah, I feel like, there's something the illustrator Michael Whalen said at one point, and it really hit me. He said, with pulp fiction stuff, like whether it's Isaac Asimov or Frank Herbert, whoever, every 10 years the publishers want to rebrand book. So you get multiple versions of the same book, and they don't really change the content, but they change the way it looks. And like this term curation is overused these days, I think. But if
Hmm.
you think about it from artist point of view, if you have a career and you have work you want to show, you have to be able to curate your work, put it someplace, right? So it's not as though I'm like already dead. It's like I'm still an active working artist, but it's like there's a body of work I did do, which I want to live someplace. And for some of the people that want to see the work I did outside of comics or some of the rare stuff I did, this is a great way to get it because it's a book. You sit on your coffee table, not expensive, and it's like you don't have to hunt down everything that is in there. So we try to hand select stuff that is harder to find than like anybody can get a copy of my Batman book that's out there all over the place. But some of the rare stuff like the album artwork I did or fashion work, it's like that was never collected in one volume. And the first volume of PulpHope was, I mean, what was that? Um, 15 years ago, I think. So a lot of
Hmm.
work has happened between then and now. So it was just a perfect storm of like having a gallery offer, show some of the art, and then to have a book published. I keep referring to this, but like it's like the chess move, like the first series of chess
Yeah.
moves. And then
What are you exploring now? Where are you headed in this field? And as a side note, speaking about making marks, anything that you'd like to say about the mark that you've made and the mark you hope to make?
no, I mean, well, I've got at the moment 3 book projects and I'm working on all of them. I can't believe, I mean, people who know me already know probably what I'm working on. I've got Battling Boy, which I've been working on now for a decade. THB, my other series, is coming out through 23rd Street Books starting November. So this fall we'll start promoting it. Maybe you and I can talk about that later. And I continue to make screen prints and illustrations for different things, private commissions, but just trying to keep active. I work in and out of film. It's unpredictable. Film is unpredictable. So, I mean, here come the police. So yeah, I mean, I try to stay active. I write as well, so it's like different creative disciplines that overlap in the field of comics.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, certainly glad to have you back to talk about the projects, the series, 23rd Street Books, and your work in that area. The last time we talked, you told me about an artist named Raphael Grandpa, and so
Mm.
had the opportunity to check out their work, of course, with Gargoyle of Gotham. Anybody that you currently like to shine the limelight on?
Oh, there's a bunch of artists I love. I mean, off the top of my head, Ian Bertram comes to mind. He's a friend of mine. Trad, sorry, Trad Moore.
Hmm.
Ian Bertram and Trad Moore are younger friends of mine. Uh, I'd have to follow up with you by email because a lot of times I look at art and I don't know the name of the artist. I have to follow up. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of really talented people, especially here in New York City. It's like kind of a satellite of art, and so you meet people from all sorts of walks of life. And I find that very intriguing, inspiring.
yeah,
Time.
cool.
So
Did we miss anything that you want to make sure to include before we close out?
no, just how are your students doing?
The students are good. The students are good. Spending time with them, getting to share some books that I love, and anytime you go to like a new space, there's kind of that initial like getting to know you period, and
Mhm.
then it seems like it gets more comfortable, and word gets around, and students start to grow more, and so that's always nice to see.
Beautiful. I mean, you might not even realize the good work you're doing. It takes so
Mhm.
long to little human beings are like trees. Like it takes a long time for them to grow. I think it's a beautiful thing. And in another life, I would have been a teacher as well. So much respect for that.
Well, certainly it's a collaboration. I love being an English and literacy teacher because I get to bring work like yours in, and I get to have conversations with you that you don't know are happening. I get to bring in pieces of work that young people can see and they can kind of converse with it, and so that's part of it. That's always artistic and fun too.
Yeah, sure.